Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being with us today. We broadcast 2 hours a day, 5 days a week on Genesis Communications Network and rebroadcast the same exact program on Republic Broadcasting Network. And we are picked up on many locations throughout the United States. And even these micro broadcasters, they grab the signal from the internet and rebroadcast it. And Ron Gibson in the Carolinas picks up the broadcast, strips out the commercials, and puts it on his YouTube channel. And that's Ron Gibson, Ron, Gibson channel. So I want to thank Ron and Republic Broadcasting and, of course, Genesis Communications Network and Jason, who is engineering the broadcast today. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. Welcome, Guineith. Well, I am very, very well, and I trust you are as well.
Yeah, I'm great. It's daylight savings for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
they
it makes
changed the clock.
How does that make you feel? Worse, right?
It means that it's now 2 a.m. here.
Mm-hmm. Instead of 1.
It's still 1 a.m. Yep. That's right.
So did you did you hear the introduction to USA Prepares this morning with our announcer? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
Well, okay. Ron Allen is our announcer, and he has been for 8 years. And USA Prepares, and some of the commercials on the radio that you may hear. And my favorite commercial is, I want pizza. We want pizza now. I think that is one of the finest commercials ever produced on radio. Absolutely. And the man who did that is a USA Prepares instructor. So, and have you had any encounters with him?
I have. I'll actually probably be working with him in the near future on doing radio scripts, radio commercials, and getting into that area of writing. Because I think the USA Prepares community is familiar with the fact that I'm a writer. And, this is an area where I can really help a lot of people and put my skills to good use and make a living for myself. And so, I reached out to Ron Allen, and he said that he would be happy to work with me, which I'm really happy about.
Well, to me, you're working with the best of the best. I've had the pleasure of working with Ron Allen, the big voice, and you can find him on the internet, Ron Allen, Allen, and the Big Voice Productions. And his work is truly, truly outstanding. It makes you pay attention. And the pizza commercial, over the top. Yeah. So I'm delighted that you're going to be spending time working with him. And I think you two will just hit it off. He may even like your accent so well that he may have you actually do the voice of some of the commercials.
Well, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
I'm actually in the process at the moment of putting together just on my own little laptop. I don't have any sophisticated radio or broadcast studio here. I've just got my little laptop. But I'm in the process of putting together a radio commercial on my laptop, just using Windows Movie Maker. We had an old executable file of Windows Movie Maker lying around, and so I said, oh, goody, we'll put that and see if it works on Windows 10, and sure enough, it did. So if anyone out there's got an executable file of Movie Maker and wonders if they can run it on Windows 10, then they can. And Movie Maker is about the best, one of the best little pieces of production software out there, but Microsoft's not distributing it anymore, unfortunately, because it's great. Well, it's why do they do away with good products, Vincent?
Well, that's okay. Great. It's okay. There's another product. If you're just doing audio, I've done a few audio commercials, not many, but the ones that I have done, I have used a free product, a free software application or a series of programs called Audacity, 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 and it runs on Windows. And you can download it for free, and all you do is type in Audacity, and it has you've got the cutting and editing tools that you use with your mouse. You can speed it up a little bit, you can slow it down a little bit, you can increase, decrease certain portions of the audio. It is fabulous, so you might want to try that.
No, that's good. I might have a look at that. But Windows Movie Maker, you can save it as an MP3 file. So it's really pretty good. I don't know why Microsoft did away with it. Maybe it was just too good. Maybe they couldn't handle the fact that people could, do their own stuff.
Yeah.
So when I get this commercial cut, which will probably be sometime in the next day or two, I'll send you a copy. And I'll send Ron a copy, and it will probably eventually end up on GCN, but I've got to get a little bit of money together just to pay for that first month. But I would encourage everybody out there, I'll just plug my book now. I mean, I suppose, I should plug it at the end of the broadcast, or maybe I can plug it again at the end of the broadcast. So, yes, I've got the prequel to The Lover of the Pirate King is now live on Amazon. Yes, I almost forgot. I have written a prequel to The Lover of the Pirate King, and it's called The Wicked Lady and the Highwayman. And I'm not going to offer too many spoilers, but it does describe the origins of the Tang cartel. And once again, the feedback that I have received from my readers and reviewers that I've given copies of the manuscript to sort of like just to see what they think, has been outstanding. And they love it. They want more. And so if you want to purchase it, I would really recommend that you go and do that. But it does have an 18-plus advisory on it, okay? Because it does have, it is a romance novel. It does have romantic scenes, let's just say, and it has a few occasions of coarse language. It's not all through the book, and it does have some quite violent scenes. But if you skip over those pages, that's fine. It's still a perfectly readable story. If you come across something in the book you don't like, you don't have to read that bit. Skip forward a few pages and keep going. And you will not lose the plot. Yeah. But anyway, that's what's been happening in my life. So I'll be finished the ad probably in the next day or two. I'll send you a copy, Vincent, and I'll send Ron Allen a copy, but it will probably be a week or two before it goes on air because, like I said, I just need to pay for a few things. It could be up to a month because I need to pay for a few things before that. before I pay for radio advertising, which is unfortunate because I would absolutely love to get this out on the air as soon as possible, but life is life. And we all have bills to pay.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'll comment as soon to you as soon as I hear it. I wanted to ask you about royalty and Jeffrey Epstein and Harry and Meghan. It seems to me that Harry and Meghan are spending with near reckless abandon. They are cavalier about their adventures. They just seem to be poster children of the millennials. And Andrew, it's clear that he likes little girls, and that he was involved in Jeffrey Epstein. And so the royalty, from what I can tell, is about to be deluged with multiple scandals coming from different angles at the same time, when there was a bombshell that just hit the news yesterday that ABC, the American Broadcasting Company, spiked a news report of 3 years ago exposing Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew and the Clintonistas, so forth, and everybody seemed to get away with it at the time. And now it's explosive. And my take on this is, if ABC was selling something I needed, I would not buy it. That's how I feel about ABC spiking this story, protecting the Clintonistas, the royalty. And according to what I read, the royalty threatened multiple ways ABC and the release of this material. They were threatened. So does that mean MI6? Does that mean murder? Does that mean assassinations? I don't know. But the thought of what the elite in this world do is beyond the pale. It's unacceptable. And they seem to think they can write laws to tell us how we should behave. And they do not subscribe to the same laws that they pen. Any comments, Guineith?
I have a long history of being really, really opposed to pedophiles and pedophilia. And anyone who, has followed my work for any length of time knows that I'm really, I don't think I would say on air how opposed I am to these people who do this and how angry it makes me, because your comment yesterday when Rich Sheben was on air, I'm not sure if it was you or if it was Kyle or Rich who said it, but one of you guys said it, that this behaviour damages people almost beyond repair. And
well, that's paraphrasing. That's paraphrasing, and both Kyle and I came out with that point. We'll be right back. Hold that thought. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. And the point is, class, that people who behave like this, there's a thread that runs through them in everything they do. Everything. It's not compartmentalized. We'll be right back. So, Guineith, I'm paraphrasing of what I said yesterday, and that was that some people would say, "Oh, what he does in the bedroom, that doesn't matter. He's a great president." I'm talking about Little Willie, and his womanizing, his philandering, his serial philandering, his nonstop philandering, his sex with another woman, Monica Lewinsky, in the Oval Office. Wow, he's still a great president. Well, people would say that. And I would have to say that someone who behaves like that cannot be trusted. Cannot be trusted. That's how I look at it. And yet, so many people And I'm talking about the GDP. And the GDP is everywhere. We are surrounded 360 degrees, and the top and the bottom by these dumb people who are actually making life difficult for those with morals. They really are. They're the ones who wear the flip-flops when they go shopping. Those are the ones who leave their carts everywhere. Those are the ones who say yellow, pink, blue, green, orange, chartreuse, violet hair, Kool-Aid colors. Well, you just have to, that's the way it is. And it's the times we're living in. So what you have to do is just bear it. And you have to live with it because that's the way it is. And I say absolutely, positively, no way am I going to do it. And if I had an employee or many employees, whether I had 1,000 or one, and one of them showed up with pink, blue, green, chartreuse, or turquoise hair, I'd fire them on the spot. On the spot. But I'd have a contract with them before we started. And it would say, here are my expectations, and this is what it takes to stay here. Now, if you violate any of those and you want to if you want to look like a native of some tribe and you want to put a bone through your nose and you think that looks cool, that's fine. Not with me, not in my company, not on my property. That's how I feel about it, because we are known with those whom we associate. We are like the people that we hang out with. People like them. So, if Jeffrey Epstein is a serial pedophile, and we have Andrew hanging out with him, what does that mean? Does that mean that he's against pedophilia? Obviously not. If Clinton and Gates are hanging out with Andrew and Epstein, doesn't that mean that these are birds of a feather flocking together and they like little girls? Isn't that what that means? Seems like it to me. Guineith?
Well, it's like this. Hillary Clinton's first ever job was, being legal defense for a pedophile, and she got him off. And later on, laughed and joked about the fact that she knew that he was guilty, and she chose to represent him anyway, chose to get him off anyway, and that, his polygraph test results destroyed her faith in polygraphs forever. And that's a quote. So, this is it. The homosexual people that I have heard of and that I have met and had opportunities to have conversations with, every single one of them, I cannot think of one of them that when they were asked did not say that every one of them admitted that when they were children, somebody raped them. This is something that is so hugely destructive. It messes up a person's sexuality forever. And even, I know of course I won't mention their names, but I know of two sisters who were both raped as children by somebody that they knew very well. And one of the sisters ended up becoming a butch lesbian, and the other sister didn't. Now, how does that happen? But even the sister that didn't has had issues her whole life in that area. And I'm not going to reveal who they are, of course.
Of course not.
I do regard these sisters as my friends.
Well, hold that thought. We'll be right back. Guineith is with us. And Guineith, yesterday I mentioned something that is very close to what you had just said. And that is, our son told me that by around here in Missouri, in rural Missouri, and maybe it's even all of Missouri, that by the age of 15, many girls are either raped or are incest victims. And this is because of the absence of morals, at least as I see it. And our boys are having a very difficult time finding the right person. One's in his mid-20s, the other's in his 30s, and either they became pregnant in high school and have one or two families with different guys. The guys are not there. Or they are disfigured intentionally, or they have no clue as to what's going on. They don't want to read, they don't want to write, it's too hard. And that's what our boys are seeing. They can't have discussions because the young girls just don't get it. When I say young, I'm talking up into the 30s. They just don't understand so much. They're naive about so many things. And I don't know if it's fixable. I don't know if they can. I think they have to find someone who's like 20 and start with someone who's 20 so that there's less damage. And it sounds like I must be making this up, right? But I'm not. Do you have any thoughts on what I just said about how these young people are damaged? And guys are damaged too. I mean, if you look at them, some of them look like they're trying for that big job in the circus. I mean, as a freak. Yeah,
there's a news article that I sent you earlier. By the way, what you're saying in your area is pretty well the same in our area as well. And my oldest son was quite fortunate. He did happen to meet a lovely young lady, and he had known this young lady since he was in primary school. They went to primary school together, and they were always good friends. And now that he is a bit older, he lives at her place in town, and, with her family there, and her family are old-timers, and apparently they're very good people in town, and they have a good reputation in the town of being real old-fashioned country town type people. So that's very fortunate. But my younger son, he more or less said, well, Mum, I'm going to work on building up my own estate, and I'm not going to bother even looking until I've got my own estate built up. By his own estate built up, what he means is until he's got his own farm with a house on it. And I said, good on you, son. He said, yeah, I'm going to save up money. I'm going to buy some land around here, and I'm going to put a house on it, and then I'm going to worry about going and finding someone. And if it takes until I'm 30, well, so be it, And I said, well, there's no rush for you, because I've always said to my boys, I've said, listen, if you're men, there's no hurry to find that special someone, because you can father children. If you look after your body, there's men in their 80s and 90s who have become fathers if they look after their bodies. With women, it's a bit more of a biological clock that's ticking. And, they have to more or less find someone by their early to mid-20s, because every year after the age of 26 that a woman does not have her first baby, her fertility begins to decrease. So all of these women who have gone to college, I went to college. I graduated when I was, 24. I met my husband when I was 23. And I had my first baby when I was 25. And my second baby when I was, 25 or 26, something like that. And I had my second baby when I was 28. And if my husband had lived longer, I would have had more children. My sons have grown up to be really fine, old-fashioned, good people. But that's because I have never, ever bought into this deranged lunacy is it's the only word that I can think of to call it. That my kids were raised in an old-fashioned way. My children were raised in the same way that I was raised. My parents were raised, and that their parents raised them, and that their parents raised them, all the way back to the dawn of time. And, the families department didn't particularly like it. But I fought them, and I won. And as more people did this, there'd be more normal children running around who are saying, well, I'm going to have my own I'm going to have my own property paid for by the time I'm 30, and then I'm going to, I'm going to have a good life. There's not many young people like that out there in the world from what I can see. And the local high school up the road, which is Wedderburn College, is actually in their sex education classes teaching the children that it's okay to be gay. And when I heard that they were doing that, I flipped out, Vincent. Can you believe that I actually flipped out at the people at the school? I wrote them a letter, and I said in this letter, please remove my child's name from your school roll. He will not be attending the school anymore, and this is why. And do you know something? That school, and I'm not saying this in a swearing way, I'm not saying this in a cussing way, that damned school, I'm saying it in a matter-of-fact way, that they are cursed. That school is cursed by God for their actions. That damned school is not taken my son's name off their roll. I told them, I want you to remove my son's name off the roll. He is not going to the school anymore. I'm not having him learning how to be a homosexual in sex ed class. And, just 3 or 4 children that we know of in this country town school that has less than 1,000 students have declared that they are now homosexual after this sex education class. And that is not acceptable. And I flipped out at the school. And I'm sure the people at that school don't like me very much, but guess what, Vincent? I don't care. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, we're teaching a class on how to lose friends. and they weren't friends to begin. And they were never
homosexual people personally,
mm-hmm.
If they would only, I don't agree with what they're doing. I think it disgusts me, the very thought of it. I just go, oh, and I just want to block it out, the thought of homosexual acts.
Yeah, because it's wrong.
It's offensive to me.
It's wrong. It's immoral. Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah, it's immoral. It's disgusting. And I'd like to comment on something that you said. So when you let the school know of your displeasure with their homosexual agenda and instruction for the children on how you too can be a homo, I experienced something similar to that back in the 90s, like the early 90s. One of our children made it. Let me preface this. My dad was a teacher. My mom worked at a college. So education was like, we'll call it the family business. They were employees in public education. Well, my mom worked in the president's office of a college. My dad was, as I mentioned, a teacher. He was a principal. He was a teaching principal as well, which meant that he taught classes and was the principal simultaneously, and he was a principal of a school or multiple schools, and then he was an acting superintendent. So he's done all the jobs. So for me and my wife to remove our children from the public training camp was a big deal in our family. It was almost a sacrilege. And so that was from the family side of the equation. From the other side, we'll call them former friends, they would say things like, how can you do this? How can you remove your children from public school? How can they be socialized? My response was, why would I want our children to socialize with thugs? Now, I would say, and that was then, because the homosexual agenda wasn't in full swing yet. Now, I would say something akin to, why would I want our children to associate with thugs and be trained to be faggots, queers, homos, gays, lesbians, and the like, and the I don't knows, or the switch hitters, like mail for today, well, maybe this afternoon, maybe in 20 minutes they'll change. Why would I want our children to associate with that? Why would I want our children to say, Mom, Dad, let's go to the store and let's get a couple different colors of Jell-O or dye, because on Thursday it's pink hair day at the school, and I want to support the school, so I want to be pink hair, and the guys are going to do it too, Dad. So we're all going to do that, and it's fun. Why would I want to support any of that? So what we did was we took our children out of the public training camp. One went all the way to the 6th grade. That was the most. One went to the 4th grade, and then one didn't go until high school. And then he decided he wanted to try it because he had never been to the public training camp. And what he found out was he was the odd guy out. He was picked on because he didn't have a girlfriend. Well, we just moved to Missouri. How could he possibly have a girlfriend? Just got here. So they gave him, so the farm boys gave him a hard time, and they'd pick on him, and they'd hit him, and they'd punch him, and they'd sucker punch him. Finally, he lost his temper and took out the biggest guy in the school. Well, naturally, because he took 3rd place in fighting at Disney Wide World of Sports. Karate. Martial arts. All it took was one hit. Boom. The whole thing was over. It's kind of like The Walking Dead. And Negan just real quiet. All of a sudden, they take out Lucille. Lucille was that baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. And, a guy disagreed with him. Bang. It was over. Now, our son didn't use a baseball bat. He just used a tight fist. That's all it took. So, do you have to put up with it? Absolutely not. We'll be right back. We were talking a little while ago about Harry and Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew. And the question I was asking, and we haven't finished talking about this, was Harry and Meghan spending with reckless abandon while the Frogmore cottage that was renovated, $3,861,000. $3,861,000 to renovate it, to their liking. Year number one, Meghan all spent $522,000. It seems enormously reckless to me.
Yeah.
She bought an dress. She bought a dress for £56,000. So £56,000 is $72,000. 72 for a dress. That kind of excess, that kind of in your face, look at me, is a sin according to the way I was raised. It's a sin. It's immoral. It's reckless. But that's what they do. And people love royalty. They just think they're the best. I think they're fleecing the flock. I think it's over the top outrageous. And if it were happening in my neck of the woods, I'm telling you, there would be a tax revolt. At least one person would be.
I think everyone needs to have a tax revolt, and I think that it needs to happen now, legally and lawfully, because taxation is extortion and theft. You work really, really hard for that money, and how dare some thug with a gun come along to you and tell you that you've got to work until Wednesday afternoon for the man or Thursday morning for the man, and then you might get Thursday afternoon and Friday of earning money for yourself, which is generally around about what it is around here, that you're well into at least Wednesday afternoon to Wednesday evening before you're earning money for yourself around here. You know, this is the hours that is in the 5-day work week. That it's generally about a 46% tax rate, and then after that you've got a 10% GST, and then you've got property taxes, you've got motor vehicle registrations, you've got this tax, that tax, the other tax. If you drink alcohol and smoke tobacco, there's taxes there as well. There's fuel tax, you know. You're probably only getting actually probably about 10 or 15%, maybe 20% of the money that you earn actually goes into your pocket. And that's just not acceptable, Vincent. You know? Oh my gosh, this whole world is just so screwed up. If you don't mind, I know that it's a topic that gets us both rolled up, but I would like to comment a bit more on the homosexual agenda. I think just before that, though, I would like to summarise my view on what Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are doing. I believe that they're soulmates. I believe that they are the reincarnation of Henry VIII and Anne of Cleves, from my research, and that they have got a case of let them eat cake-itis. Is the only thing, you know, in other words, quoting, you know, that the French queen, I forget her, Marie Antoinette, quoting Marie Antoinette. It's not sure whether she even said it, but I think that it summarises where the people came to her and said, you know, oh, the people have no bread. And then she turned around and said, let them eat cake. And I think that about sums up their attitude, but it's a very dangerous attitude for them to have, because that particular, I'm not wishing any harm against the royal family. Okay, I'm just saying that, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are really, really hacked off at the royal family. And in the past, this same sort of scenario ended with the French royal family losing their necks, getting their heads cut off. And I don't want to have any harm coming to the British royal family, okay? I like Princess Diana, and the ghost of Princess Diana has come from time to time and actually spoken to me, and I really like her. She's a lovely lady, you know, and I would count her among my friends. When we get back from the news, I think I can hear the music. I would actually like to talk about this homosexual agenda a bit more.
Sure.
Sure. Okay,
and I'll also share with you. Yeah, I'll also share with you a magazine. I'll discuss it. It's called Rural Missouri, the November 2019 issue. And Mrs. Finella just handed it to me. And there's my smiling face, and I'll tell you what it says when we come back. George in New Hampshire is calling in. Welcome, George.
Hi, Vincent. Hi, Guineith. I'd like to just... Good. How are you? I'd just like to say that... I'm sorry, what?
I said I'm good.
Oh, that's good. Okay. I was going to say that I don't know if you've heard of Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? No, they're two homosexuals who are out of Vermont, and they have an ice cream plant over there, a factory, maybe some other places. Well, some years ago, I heard that they were putting a lot of money towards legalizing same-sex unions in Australia, and eventually, I guess it went through. Right, Gwyneth, over there, that was passed.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I found out, though, what they were doing. And shortly before I heard a blip. I had never heard it before, but it was someone who I knew pretty well said, Pastor Butch Bogg, he said that they're both homosexuals. And I had never heard anything one way or the other, and it wasn't something that I really went all out to find out. But when I found out that, one of my sons is very much into health food. The other two pretty much, they go back and forth. But anyway, the fact is, I told him, I said, son, from that day forward, when I heard what they were pushing and promoting, and then it kind of clicked, the two pieces came together, I never bought another one of their ice cream products or any of their products again. And, you vote with your pocketbook. And now I notice is they're coming out for Bernie Sanders. I'm in the next state, New Hampshire, so Vermont's right next door. So it's like, not to go on, I'll just say that they crossed over, and they were doing a reading somewhere near in the next town of Peter and the Wolf. And I said, how appropriate for them to do this. And then they had a drag queen reading down in maybe about 35 miles away. And that was really like the first thing. And I said, these predators, they're grooming children. And Peter and the Wolf, though, how appropriate, you know? I mean, appropriate in a sarcastic way.
I just looked up Ben and Jerry's, and here's what it says. This is Answers.com. According to the biography program and viewable on Netflix, Ben and Jerry have been lifelong friends, longtime business partners over 30 years, sometime roommates, but also definitely married to women and fathers to children with their wives. They are also strong supporters of LGBT rights. Now, that doesn't prove anything to me, but that's what it says.
Agreed.
Yeah, because some biography, they leave all kinds of things out of biography. If you look at some of the Clintons' information, you'd think that those guys walk on water. But if you type in something like Clinton, death or deaths, you'll find a completely different story.
One other thing I was going to say was that Guineith, you mentioned like the royal family, so-called. They said Prince Charles has restored a castle that was pretty much a ruin in Transylvania because they found that his line was his people, the Queen Elizabeth, I don't know which side it comes from, his father, Prince Philip or whatnot, but they said that they were related to Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Dracul. He was what the Dracula legend was based on. I'm sorry?
That's true. That's true. I've got that from multiple sources, including European royals who are, I do have some friends who are European royals. I meet all sorts of people, in the process of my research. And, there's one fellow, and he is actually a European prince. And him and I have become quite good friends, just through me having to do my research and me emailing him and him emailing me back. And we became friends much in the same way as Vincent and I became friends. And he wrote an article about Vlad the Impaler. And I think that he pointed out that Prince Charles is actually the descendant along the direct male line of Vlad the Impaler. And I think that that is the most monumental stuff-up I think that Prince Charles had ever made, is buying the castle of Vlad the Impaler, because he was, from what I gather, not a particularly nice guy. But I think that there's a possibility that Prince Charles might be actually the reincarnation of Vlad the Impaler, because his face, he's got a very distinctive face. And if you go online and look at the face of Vlad the Impaler, you will see that he actually has the same facial structure as Prince Charles, the same bone structure as Prince Charles. What would be the odds of that actually happening? Even those amazing ears, I don't know what else to call those ears, but other than just amazing. So, but it's, oh my gosh, it is jaw-dropping. And so much about the life of Prince Charles actually is like a reboot of the life of Vlad the Impaler, where on the one hand, this might seem extraordinary, but this is actually in the history books. Vlad the Impaler, he was an extremely cruel man, but he actually had a lot of fans. People in the ordinary populace were either terrified of him or loved him, or both, because he stood up to the Bavarian bankers. And he
also stood up to the Turks, too. The Rothschilds. He rounded up the Rothschilds in his local village, and he executed them in a very, very gory manner. The Bavarian Ashkenazi bankers, the Rothschilds, in his local village. And because of that, he actually got a big fan following because he did that. And Prince Michael brought this out, and I said, really? And he said, yeah, that's actually what happened. And he spends his life studying the history of European royalty. And of course Vlad the Impaler was a bad guy. I'm not defending him, but what I'm saying is that there was a reason why they didn't just go out and execute him. Even though they were terrified of him, they had these people in Romania and Hungary were known for their pitchfork brigade, where they would actually go out from time to time and round up the local vampires and impale them and burn them at the stake, drown them, and hang, draw, and quarter them, and whatever other torturous executions they could think of. But remember, too, a lot of innocents were accused of being vampires.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, too, though, there was that woman who was of royal blood, and for a period of maybe 30 years, she would find a way to invite virgin women, young virgins, into her castle, and she would, under the auspices of either giving them a job or helping them or just honoring them, and then they would disappear, and she would bathe in their blood, and she claimed that kept her youthful, but they said that the locals kept complaining to the king and to the government, and they said it took like 20, 25 years until finally they realized so many women were disappearing that when they finally caught the woman dead to rights, she turned around and she wasn't executed. She was put under house arrest in her castle. Now they figured she must have killed maybe as many as 60, 70, maybe even a couple of hundred young women.
Right. Yep. That woman, her name was called Elizabeth Bathory. Okay, that's Bathroy. She was contemporary with Vlad the Impaler. She was good friends with Vlad the Impaler, and in fact, she was Vlad the Impaler's cousin. There was a whole nest of them, and they were, without doubt, vampires, in my humble opinion. Okay? I'm not saying that, immortal, blah, blah, Hollywood vampires, they drank blood. Okay? They actually did. And they were really, really vile people. And this is what I'm saying. I think that Prince Charles really has stuffed up big time with buying Vlad the Impaler's castle, Vlad Dracula's castle. Dracula's castle. And when I had a dream a while ago where Princess Diana met me in the dream, and she said that the Queen is old and ill, and that Will needs to prepare himself to be the king. That Prince William needs to prepare himself to be the king. And she basically said in this dream that Charles will never become the king. Time will tell. But I feel very, very honored to have met her, and she told me to go and tell everybody that, Prince Charles will never be the king, that it's been decreed from heaven that he will never be the king, and that Wills needs to prepare himself to be the king, and I think that he will make, and that's actually the word that she used. She said Will needs to prepare himself to be the king.
Vincent,
if he's
what do you
listening to
think
this
of all
broadcast,
this?
he needs to do that.
In what respect? Are you talking about Vlad? Are you talking about?
Well, I mean the royal
royalty?
family, so-called.
I think the behavior of the millennials, the royal millennials, is disgraceful. I'm talking about specifically Harry and Meghan. I think it's over the top. It bothers me. I would be embarrassed to be one of their subjects. Can you imagine being a subject to that? Yeah. Meghan is to me, is disgraceful. She is the typical me first, look at me. Oh, not enough people are looking at me. She feels bad about that. Millennial. I have a couple other comments when we come back. Guineith is with us, live from Australia. George is with us in New Hampshire, both USA Prepares instructors. And about Meghan Markle, I believe she is extravagant in her spending. I think she wants everyone to look at her. She wants to feel that she is the center of attention. These are my opinions. And spending between $300,000 and $500,000 USD, or frauds, Federal Reserve Accounting Unit dollars, on her wardrobe in 2018 is over the top. It's the highest amount any female royal has ever spent on new clothes. How could you do it? How could you spend $500,000 USD on clothing in 1 year? I don't see how it's possible. I wouldn't know where to, Wranglers don't cost that much. I don't know where you would go to spend that much, but obviously she does. And she's not all that pretty. So how does she get away with this? Because people are not putting their foot down. They're not saying, where's this money come from? Is it from taxation? Where is it coming from? And that was one thing. Another thing I wanted to mention is that we had talked about corporations like Ben and Jerry's giving money away to their favorite perverted causes. Okay. All right. Well, here's my thought on that. If Ben and Jerry's has so much money left over that they can give it to the the lesbians, the gays, the rest of it, the bis, the trans, the I don't knows, I'll change it in a few minutes, those types. And if Bill Gates has so much that he can give his money away, that only means one thing to me, that they overcharged everybody who was a customer. That's what that means. They have so much money because they overcharged all the customers. That's how I see it. So I am actually disgusted with what I see in the lack of morals. And to me, this is morals. Just spending money with reckless abandon on frivolity, clothing. Do they really need to change their outfit 6 times a day? Really? Is it because she was pregnant and she had an ever-expanding waistline? Is that really what cost $500,000 in clothing? I don't think so. I think it's vanity. And I think it's disgraceful. But There's a history of that. If you look at kings and queens and you look at the commoners are dressed in filthy rags in the 1500s, and the kings and queens are dressed to the nines. There's such a delta between the clothing of the king and queen versus the commoners. It's unacceptable, and I'm surprised there hasn't been a revolt. I really am. But I know a guy. One second. I know a guy. I met him many times over the years. We would go to historical conventions together. Well, not together, but we'd end up at the same destination. He'd fly in from England. And I'd say, tell me about the Queen. What do you think? Well, she's the Queen. Well, what do you mean? Well, she's the Queen. Okay. What does she do? Well, she's the Queen. Okay. What does she do? He couldn't tell me what she did. But he loved her. And he's just one of many who felt the same way. Loyalty. But he couldn't tell me why. George?
Well, the closest I ever got was when I was in college. There was a fellow student whose mother was from England. I guess his father was American. And I asked him, I said, what's this thing with the Queen? I said, why is there so much adulation and all the rest of it? He says, we consider it that there has to be something above politics. This is the way he put it. And I kind of understood his idealized view of it, but you asked, where did they get the money for this? I'm told, like, for example, like Prince Charles is an example. They said that he's considered like, I don't know, the Duke of Wellington. Like there's a number of titles and properties and whatnot in estates that, they dole out to various sundry members of the royal family. And they said in that area of that part of England, like if one of the war widows was to die and she had her husband's pension, they said that as soon as she passes away, the pension would revert to Charles because he was in that particular district.
What a great idea. We'll be right back. When I was taking a real estate course many years ago to become a licensed realtor, I did it not to sell property, but I did it for my own purposes. I wanted to learn what the realtors knew, or some of it, so that I could level the playing field and be less of a victim of the system. And I learned about wills, and I learned about dying intestate, intestate. And if you die intestate, you die without a will, and the state can take your property. It could be monetary, it could be physical, it could be whatever. And that's what George is talking about. George, please continue.
Just a few other details is Princess Diana was known, and I think this was either in the 80s or maybe the early 90s, it came out that she was spending $80,000 a year on tights, women's tights. And and I remember seeing a picture of her, not that I'm attacking her personally, but I'm just saying, in other words, just the facts, basically, is that I remember they showed her standing next to these very, very fine salmon. And they were basically, she was a very tall woman. And they were as tall as her. They were as long as her. And they said in England, they said the fishing community in England, the commoners, they have quite a catch and release program because they'll be fishing for these small, just a couple of pound, maybe 2 pound fish. And because they're so limited, they just catch and release them. And yet, it's like you said, and you also said that the royals also, for many centuries now, there were certain colors that only royalty could wear, like purple was a royal color, and it was unlawful for a commoner to wear that color. But I'll leave it with this, because I know you ain't going to have much to cover. I'll just say this. In the future, there's going to be 5 kings. The king of diamonds, the king of clubs, the king of spades, the king of hearts, and the king of England. On that note,
gosh.
God bless both of you. Bye-bye.
You know, I just had a quick comment. Hillary and Bill were on stage, and they were making a concession. And they were wearing purple. First time I've ever seen it. Both of them on the world stage. Yes. We were talking about taxes. Guineith, I had done a number of in-person seminars at conventions over the years. And I've talked about taxes and how to start your own business and avoid paying taxes absolutely legally. Because that's what the wealthy do. They all have businesses. If you look at anybody who's wealthy, they started a business. People generally, almost universally, do not become wealthy as an employee. So I added up taxes, some of the various taxes, maybe a few percent of the number of different taxes in the United States. And when you add it up, as you started to do, it adds up to 65 to 75, maybe 80%.
Yeah.
So people who say, if you ask the GDP, so what percentage do you think you're paying in taxes? Oh, I don't know, 15, 20, 25%. That's what they'll tell you, because they don't get it. They can't add. They are not thinking about all of the little taxes, as you said, the state tax, the local tax, the county tax, the telephone tax, the cell phone tax, the real estate tax, the personal property tax, the sales tax, the tire disposal fee, the battery disposal fee, for your car battery, the sales tax on the battery, the wages that everybody was taxed on when they made the products that you're taxed on to buy. And then the fuel taxes, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. The library cards, the license plates, the renewals of your registration for your vehicle, the sales tax on your vehicle. I mean, it goes on and on and on. By the time you're done, 65, 75, 80%. So when people are trying to figure out exactly how come they're so broke, I think you can start looking at the taxes. And if that doesn't do it, start looking at inflation. And you put the two of them together, and you'll get what Bob Chapman, the late great Bob Chapman, said is the reason why people are broke. Taxes and inflation. It costs more, you earn less, and you're in the squeeze. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Guineith?
That's about the sum of it. And that's why I'm saying we all need to have a tax revolt. Because this has happened before in history, and the only way it stops, Thomas Jefferson said, somebody once asked him, Mr. Jefferson, how far are the British going to go in their tyranny? And he is very famous for replying, as far as you let them. As soon as you start to push back, they will start to back off. And I can say in my own life, that every single time that I have begun to push back legally and lawfully against the beast system, the beast might put up a fight for a while, but every time that I push back against them, they lose. Every single time. And I have a happier life, and I have a more peaceful life now, because I think that part of it is that the beast system has realized that I'm not low-hanging fruit. They still try, but really they've got not a leg to stand on, and if they persist, they are going to get sued. And the damages that I'm going to be seeking are going to be in the order of the millions or tens of millions of dollars. And I've got an open and shut case because they've behaved themselves so badly over the years with multiple times trying to destroy me in every way that they could possibly think of. And unlike the general member of the public out there, I don't have the memory of a goldfish, and I keep records. And I can go back and I can, and I'm a good writer. And I can put together, I don't just write fiction, I don't just write ad copy, I can write legal briefs. If there's anyone out there who needs a legal brief to get written, I can do that. And, it will be a paid service, But I've written a lot of legal briefs, and I've self-represented myself in court cases, and they have never, ever won against me. The cases usually ended up getting dropped or thrown out or whatever, they've never won against me. I'm out here, I'm in the wild, and I'm on my own land, and, there's not really much that they can do about it. Because if they tried, then I would have other things would happen. Even if I was dead, then other things would happen, and it wouldn't not be in their best interest, and they know it, for anything to happen to me, because certain information would be released. And the thing is, this is it of drawing on, I know I keep going back to this, but it's true. If you know who you are and who you were in your past life, it can help you to navigate this life, because the patterns that were formed in your past life tend to get repeated in this life, but you can learn from your mistakes in your past life, and you can do a better job this time, because that's part of the reason why you got sent back here. Part of the reason why I got sent back here was to find Jesus Christ, and so that Jesus Christ could find me, or I could find him, or however it works. Because in my past lives, I was not a good person. I was a transvestite, and I was a pirate, and I was a murderer in my past lives hundreds of years ago, and I was a bandit, I was a pirate, I was a highwayman. I was not a nice person, but the thing is that I was the person that I was the result of the circumstances of my life at that time, okay? And I didn't have a good set of circumstances in any of my early lives, except for maybe one or two, that weren't so, where I didn't end up being so screwed up. But my past lives where I did end up getting really screwed up, of being highly violent, basically a highly violent transvestite, and a couple of my past lives, it was because I was in those lives sexually abused, or where there was a rampant sexual abuse in the community, and where my father disguised me as a boy. This is the George Wilson life. There was rampant sexual abuse in my community, which was Liverpool, and my father disguised me as a boy so that I could go out and play as a child and actually come home in the evening and not be kidnapped and killed. Because Liverpool at that time was an extremely violent place, and I've been able to trace the piece of land that I lived on, and it was right next to the Mersey River. It was near the docks, and it was the rough part of town. So my father, so that I would actually, because, in that life my mother died when I was born, she bled out, giving birth to me, and my father never remarried, and he was a surgeon. He couldn't watch me all the time when I was little, so he dressed me as a boy to go out and play. And I played with all the boys, and I roughhoused with them, none of them realized I was a girl, and I was told to keep my mouth shut about the fact that I was a girl. And that, that led to, yes, I survived my childhood. Yes, I was not molested, but it led to me not knowing how to behave as a girl. Does that make sense? And so
we have to adapt. Well, we have to adapt to survive. We have to adapt to survive. We have to adapt to survive. We come back, Guineith, in class. I'd like to read just a little bit from the Laclede Electric Cooperative piece in Rural Missouri, the magazine of which I appeared. Okay, I just want to share this with you. Mrs. Finelli brought this to me. This is the November 2019 issue of Rural Missouri. It's a large print magazine, comes out once a month. We receive it in the mail. And it's quite amusing to me. And the back cover has Laclede Electric Cooperative's propaganda on it. And I want to talk about lies. And I'm saying these guys are lying. And I'll define what I mean. Quote, here's what they're saying. Quote, prepaid program. The prepaid program is changing the way people pay for their electricity. It puts members in the account management driver's seat. Buying power. Wait a second here. Okay, let me start over. The prepaid program is changing the way people pay for their electricity. It puts members in the account management driver's seat. Buying power, like we purchase gasoline before we use it, allows members to avoid deposits, due dates, and fees. Now think about that. They are telling you that buying electricity before you use it is like buying gasoline. They're saying you buy the gasoline before you use it. There's one big difference. When you buy gasoline, you take possession of it. You literally take possession. With buying electricity, you do not take possession until you use it. Using gasoline and using electricity, buying each is different. But these guys are lying by saying it's the same. It is not the same. That's one thing. So what I'm telling you is words are changing here in the United States, and I object to it. Here's something else. There are this is staggering to me. I don't think anyone has ever lost an election as badly as I have. There are 28,585 members of Laclede Electric Cooperative. Each one of them can have a vote. Each one. Okay. So there were 7 candidates for 3 districts running. 5 out of the 7 guys, they're all men running, had beards, white beards. 5 out of 7. 2 out of the 7 had a jacket and a tie on. 1 out of the 7 had a jacket and a tie on that fit. Yeah. 2 out of the 7 had white.
Let me guess who the guy was who had a jacket and a tie that actually fitted.
Okay.
That was you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Okay. I'm looking at 2 guys here that did not even have a tie on. Had a shirt but no tie. One guy had a plaid shirt. Another guy had a knitted shirt and no tie. These guys are running for the board of directors of an electric cooperative with 28,585 customers. And they're posing for the picture. We all posed at the same place. We went to the electric cooperative, and 2 of these guys didn't even wear a tie and jacket. They just had their shirts on. Okay, let me tell you the results.
And I'll bet you those beards were not well-groomed barbershop beards. I'll bet they were rough as guts country farmer beards.
You're absolutely right.
Weren't they?
You're absolutely right. So, district number 1, a guy named Harris, he won 582 votes out of 28,585. 585 possible votes. He got 582, and he won. The number 2 guy in the runoff got 254 votes. I got 100 even, out of a possible 28,585. District number 2, a guy named Hoffman won with 506 votes. His runner-up got 446. His runner-up in district number 2 got 4.5 times more votes than I did. Okay. District number 3, the winner got Michael Rouse, got 588 votes. The runner-up, Dr. Howell, got 314 votes. So everybody blew my doors off. Everybody. And what I'm telling you is, if you think that things are fair, you think that things are logical, and that you think that voters are educated, you're confused. So Rural Missouri magazine is telling you that buying electricity, paying for it in advance, is like paying for gasoline. Bold-faced lie. If they're lying about that, what else are they lying about? I would say a lot. That's my opinion. I hope they come after me. I hope they sue me, because we'll talk about it every day. Class, you need to take care of yourselves. You need to protect your family. You need to prepare. Life is going to get very, very difficult, in my opinion. It's getting more difficult every day. And if you live in California and you expect that electricity is going to come out of that outlet of yours, you may be very disappointed. Millions have been disappointed in the last couple of weeks. Guineith, thank you so much for being with us and staying the course.
God bless you. I'll see you next week.